The Erickson family lived in the prestigious neighborhood, surrounded by centuries-old pines. They were a respected and cultured family in the area, led by Homer Erickson, an 80-year-old architect with numerous awards and honors. It was Homer who secured the family's current financial status and ensured a comfortable future for generations to come. Homer had two sons, each successfully married and contributing to the continuation of the Erickson lineage. The family of the eldest son, Aidan, who headed a large construction company, chose to live with the head of the Erickson clan. Despite his age, the elderly architect was still full of energy and creativity. Every morning, he would rise early, exercise, have breakfast, and head to his study to work. He continued to impress colleagues and clients with his unconventional solutions and original ideas. "Good morning, Dad. What are you working on this morning?" Aidan asked his father. "Last week, I participated remotely in an expert panel where we discussed an interesting project via video conference. Many experts concluded that the task was technically unfeasible, but you know me, every such snag is a personal challenge. Now, I'm doing the calculations and making adjustments to prove to these old-timers that there are no hopeless situations, only poorly analyzed ones," Homer replied. "I never doubted you. Well, I hope the poor experts' egos don't get too bruised after you dismantle their arguments. Leave them with a shred of self-respect," Aidan joked. "They have so much pride that adjusting their crowns a bit won't hurt," laughed the old man. Aidan, too, was responsible and hard-working, but he didn't possess the same talent as his father. However, he loved his job and strove to do it as best as he could. The eldest son of the famous architect founded his own construction company, but his true calling was in management, which he did successfully. Bill Plaston handled not only regular construction contracts but also government projects, earning a good name and reputation. When complex architectural projects were needed, Aidan sought advice from his father, who worked as an independent expert. "Dad," Aidan approached his father once again, "we need your expert help again. Our project department staff messed up the calculations, and they don't add up. Can you look over them and find the discrepancy? Of course, send me all the materials via email, and I'll take a look. What would you do without me? Always coming to me with your mistakes," Homer grumbled good-naturedly. "Well, you have such experience and qualifications, and our specialists are just ordinary. They have a long way to go to reach your level." The family home was under the reliable care of Aidan's wife, Quinn, who managed the household and raised their children, Louis and Nicole. Quinn frequently hosted social evenings attended by the local elite. A socialite, she didn't work but compensated by actively participating in community life, membership in the Lyceum's Board of Trustees, managing a charitable foundation, and engaging in various social actions covered by the media. In truth, Quinn probably wouldn't have become a philanthropist if her efforts weren't publicized. Her participation always came with the stipulation that it be mentioned in news reports and on the websites of the institutions receiving her help or support. Usually, those seeking her assistance would reach out to Quinn through her social network. "Hello," Quinn said into the phone, wearing her usual friendly smile. "Of course, I recognized you. How could I not recognize you, my dear? How are you? What's new? I feel like I've been out of the social loop lately. I need to catch up." "Quinn," the caller responded, "we're planning a charity event. We're calling potential attendees now. You'll receive an official invitation, but we need to confirm who will be attending to calculate the upcoming expenses. The program is standard, and media representatives will also be present." "My dear, of course, I'll come. You know I never miss these events. You can count on me. Thank you. I'll add you to the list. We look forward to seeing you at our charity evening." "Thank you for the invitation," Quinn replied, pleased with the conversation. She could now tick off another event in her social portfolio. Many believed that her presence at a birthday or wedding automatically elevated the status of the event. Aidan's son, Louis, had already graduated from university and was working at the same company as his father. The young man was an economics graduate and a marketing specialist. Having someone knowledgeable in product promotion and branding within the family business was a valuable asset. That's what Aiden thought when he offered his son a job at Buildplast in. "Louis, I'm sure you'll make an excellent specialist. Everyone speaks highly of you. So why should we let such talent go to the competition? Will you join me?" "Dad, I wanted to prove that I could succeed and build a career on my own, without your help. I promise, no special treatment. I'll personally ensure there's no bias or favoritism. You'll work, gain experience and skills. If you don't like it, you can leave. I won't hold you against your will. Anyway, every job requires experience. Work for at least 2 or 3 years, get the necessary experience, and then you can go your own way. I agree about the experience requirement. I've already looked at job listings. To get decent pay, you need a good resume and work experience. Alright, let's consider this my internship. But let's agree that there will be no extra conversations in the company. I'll get paid like other young specialists. Bonuses too, like everyone else. If I earn it, I get it. If not, I need to work better. Now that's what I call a business conversation. So, is it a deal? I agree to these terms. If you want to be like everyone else, then on Monday, respond to our job posting, send your documents to HR, and schedule an interview date. I promise, I won't even tell anyone that the job application is from my son." The youngest in the family, Nicole, was studying at a college of design and architecture. She was talented, loved music and poetry, dreamed of becoming an artist, and was already making creative strides. Her room resembled an artist's studio more than a girl's bedroom. Her love for rock and gothic styles was evident in the room's decor. Romantic, dark gothic images appeared in the numerous pencil sketches scattered across her desk. Nicole's room was in a perpetual state of creative chaos because, like many creative individuals, she preferred disorder over order. Quinn, the keeper of household propriety, disliked this trait in her daughter, leading to frequent arguments over minor household matters. "Nicole, you're a young woman, a future wife, mother, and keeper of family values. What kind of values will your family have if there are clothes strewn everywhere and a mountain of papers? Mom, you don't understand. Maybe I don't even want to get married. And these aren't just papers, they're my drawings. Do you even know what your daughter is passionate about, what she dreams of? All you care about is giving orders and imposing your opinions. To you, we're not individuals, just pieces of decor that you arrange to your liking. If something goes out of fashion or doesn't fit, you change it to suit you. But unlike furniture, I care. I'm a living person with my own interests and needs. Stop trying to mold me into something else. Is that how you talk to your mother? I probably know better what's best. I've lived many years and have a lot of experience. Age doesn't correlate with intelligence or correctness. You can live to old age and still be a complete Neanderthal. Are you comparing me to primitive people now? You, Mom, are a typical egocentric. You always think about yourself, that the world revolves around you. Think what you want, but I don't have time to explain simple truths to you. Nicole, maybe I don't understand some of your modern terms, but if you explain, I'll understand. We can always talk, mother to daughter. I love you very much and only want the best for you, which is why I worry about your future. In my time, a girl needed to have certain household skills. Mom, please don't start. The generation gap is as old as time. It was the same thousands of years ago, and it will be the same thousands of years from now. Let's drop this subject and not bring it up again. Honestly, I'm tired of arguing over trivial things. How about we call a truce? Nicole asked, spreading her arms for a hug. Quinn, being a wise woman, took her daughter's offer to avoid escalating the situation. She didn't enjoy arguing with her beloved daughter either. Family harmony and peace at home were more important to her than her own ambitions, as she was a good mother and wife. Homer's younger son, Leonard, stayed abroad after his studies and became a professor at the University of Vienna. He worked in the department focused on architectural research. Leonard often visited his father, bringing new ideas and knowledge. He married his classmate, Giselle. They had only one child, a son named Robin, as both parents were dedicated to their careers and didn't have time for a large family. Leonard, his wife, and their son usually visited for Homer's birthday to bring joy to the old man who missed his youngest son and grandson. The Erikson family home was custom designed by Homer himself. He designed and built the house, ensuring it blended beautifully with the surrounding landscape, for his first and only love, his wife Rosalie. They had lovingly arranged every inch of the home together. Rosalie planted flowers and shrubs, tenderly caring for her garden, while Homer crafted elegant gazebos, arched structures, benches, and other outdoor features for her. There was also a small artificial pond with fish, large lily pads floating on its surface, a Japanese rock garden, and a Chinese pavilion for meditation. Homer adored his wife and did everything he could to fulfill her every wish. Whatever Rosalie wanted in her magical garden would somehow appear there, almost miraculously. When Rosalie suddenly passed away before reaching 40, Homer lost an entire universe with her. However, he felt morally obligated to remain in this world for the sake of his sons, who were just becoming men and needed a strong father figure. Homer immersed himself in work and dedicated the rest of his life to his sons and his beloved profession, cutting himself off from the rest of the world. "Dad, you can't just close yourself off at 40 and become a recluse," Aidan told his father while still a student. "I miss Mom too, but life doesn't end there. Do you think she would have liked that you've become a hermit? You're still in the prime of your life, and you could find another woman, Dad. Believe me, we'll understand and won't judge you. No other woman will ever enter this house or my heart. Everything died with Rosalie. I'm living now only for you and your brother. I don't interfere with how you live your lives, so please don't interfere with mine. My reclusiveness suits me just fine," Homer would reply year after year whenever someone tried to coax him back into a normal life. It was only the arrival of grandchildren that softened Homer's hardened heart. The children's laughter, their cheerfulness, and boundless energy seemed to breathe new life into him. In his grandchildren, Homer found solace. "Grandpa, tell me a story," little Nicole would say, barely reaching the edge of the large desk in his study. "And what story shall I tell you today?" Homer would ask gently, stroking her silky curls. "About a princess." "Another princess story? I just told you one yesterday. How about a story about a little bear or a bunny?" "Okay, let's hear about a little bear who was friends with a bunny and a princess." "You little trickster. You want a story about all of them. What are we going to do with you?" "Well, listen. Once upon a time, there was a princess, a little bear, and a bunny. They lived happily because they were all friends. So, with jokes and homemade stories, evenings passed in the Erikson house. Homer barely noticed how his grandchildren, whom he had recently rocked in cradles, had grown up. Now, instead of him telling them stories, they entertained him with tales from their lives, brightening his lonely evenings. The large Erikson family usually gathered around the big table in the living room to discuss the latest news, share their plans and dreams, seek the wise advice of the family patriarch, or simply celebrate each other's achievements. "What good news do you have for me today?" Homer would often ask his children and grandchildren when everyone was gathered around the richly set oak table with its massive, carved legs. "Grandpa, at the end of the month, I have a vernissage. I've been invited to participate in an exhibition of fashionable artists, and 3 of my works have been approved for display. Will you come?" Nicole asked hopefully. Her blue eyes shone with the feverish brightness typical of many creative people. "I need to check my calendar to see if anything important is planned for that day." "When did you say the vernissage is?" "The 30th, Nicole answered sadly, her eyes losing their sparkle. "Why are you upset?" "Of course, I'll come. Can't I joke a little without you getting a sad face?" Homer exclaimed with a laugh. "Grandpa! How can you joke about such things?" Nicole asked indignantly. "These days, people joke about everything, but Grandpa isn't allowed. What's that thing you young folks call it when someone dresses up as a ghost and scares people in dark hallways?" "Oh, now I get it, Grandpa. You want to be a prankster," Louis said, and the whole family burst into laughter. Thus, in harmless teasing and lively discussions of the week's events, the usual family dinners passed. Quinn, having once arrived in New York in search of happiness, applied to several acting universities simultaneously and got accepted into one. However, she understood that her best chance was to be a supporting actress. As a naturally shrewd student of an acting college, Quinn had a plan for conquering the stage and screen. If she could get noticed as an extra, she might land a bit part. From there, she would give her all to move to the next level. Slowly but surely, Quinn pursued her goal. But an unexpected variable entered her calculations. In her second year, she met Aidan. Not wasting any time, she married him as soon as he proposed, instantly realizing that she couldn't let such a catch slip away. Her classmates cast envious glances at the young couple walking hand in hand through the university park. Thea, who used to be friends with Quinn, once said, watching them, "Quinn has good taste. Her fiancé is enviable. He's the son of Erickson." "Who's Erickson?" Amara, who had recently moved to the city, asked in confusion. "What? Did you fall from the moon or something?" Thea exclaimed in surprise. "The whole city knows the Erickson family. Aidan's father is a famous architect, he designs houses for all the wealthy people. Oh, some people are just lucky. She used to date that handsome Henry, and now she's with a famous rich guy. How does she manage to attract such men?" The girls continued to discuss the new couple for a long time, concluding that guys might date flashy girls, but they eventually marry the quiet ones. Quinn, however, was completely unfazed by the gossip. When she enrolled in acting college, she was fully aware that in such an industry, one couldn't afford to be shy. These skills also proved useful in real life. She had long realized that every person creates their own happiness. So, when Aidan proposed, she didn't hesitate. Right after the wedding, Quinn got pregnant, gave birth, and soon found herself on maternity leave again with a second pregnancy. Having two young children made continuing her studies difficult, and she eventually decided to drop out of college. Despite the happiness of their family life, Quinn often blamed Aidan for the collapse of her career dreams. However, the actress in her never completely died. Periodically, she would put on grand performances for her husband. These home dramas usually started over some minor issue. Quinn considered it her duty to keep an eye on every detail of their household. "Aidan Erickson, how many times have I asked you to put things back where you found them? Where did you put my hairbrush from the vanity? I always keep my things in their place, and you always scatter them around the house. Why are you calling me by my full name? I'm just Aidan. And what makes you think it was me? Why do you always respond to a question with another question? That's so rude. I asked you where you put my hairbrush and why you don't put things back, and you couldn't think of anything better than to pick on how I addressed you. What kind of annoying habit is this to drive me crazy? Exactly, you need a checkup. When was the last time you had one? Are you serious right now? Or are you just mocking me? Does this give you some kind of moral satisfaction? If so, maybe it's you who should see a specialist." "Well, that was a productive conversation," Aidan said and walked out of the room, slamming the door. "Go ahead, slam the door, let everyone know we had a fight, because that's so manly." Quinn would continue her loud tirade into the empty room, hoping her husband hadn't gone too far and might hear some part of her expressive monologue. After some time, she would come out of the bedroom and dramatically ask the staff to make her some herbal tea with chamomile and lemon balm. Everyone in the house knew that if Quinn asked for this tea, it meant she had argued with someone and wanted everyone to see the stress she had endured. In truth, Quinn never complained about her health, and the calming herbal tea was the strongest remedy she ever used to restore her emotional stability. When her beloved son Louis chose to marry the beautiful Faith, who, like Quinn, was a student at an acting college, Quinn saw it as another twist of fate. Unlike Quinn, Faith was in no hurry to have children and settle down, which only highlighted that Quinn's life could have taken a different path. "Faith, when will you and Louis bless us with grandchildren?" Quinn would ask at every family gathering. "Mom, stop it. How many times do we have to answer the same question? It's between Faith and me. We'll have kids when we're ready," Louis would respond irritably each time. He always stood up for his wife during his mother's endless attacks because he understood perfectly well that his mother was simply jealous, both of him and of his wife's career success. "Aren't you tired of this broken record? It's time to change your tune." "Son, what did I say that's so wrong?" Quinn snapped. It's every mother's natural desire to see her grandchildren soon after her children's wedding. You two are really dragging this out. Look at your father and me. We had you and Nicole almost one after the other. Are you saying we did something wrong? That it would have been better not to have kids and focus solely on our careers? If that were the case, dear, you wouldn't even exist, and you and Faith would have never met. Mom, you're always exaggerating. No one is saying we shouldn't have kids at all. Believe me, we don't intend to be child-free. But there's no need to rush us either. After all, this is our life. We want to live a little for ourselves first, enjoy each other, build our careers, and get our household in order. When everything is settled, I promise you, we'll focus on having children. Louis, your mother just has nothing to talk about with her friends, Aiden said. You need to understand her position. When everyone around her is discussing their grandchildren and sharing cute photos and videos, she has to come up with another excuse for why she doesn't have any, and she gets those pitying looks. Quinn, I didn't realize this was such a serious issue for you, Faith sighed. I promise, Louis and I will discuss this further in the near future. But, unfortunately, I can't give you an exact date for when you can expect grandchildren. Quinn, why are you so worked up? You'll have a grandson and a granddaughter. When the time comes, it's not like ordering from a catalog. Be patient. Thank you all for your participation. As always, you're so helpful. I've had enough, the mother-in-law exclaimed dramatically and left the table. She understood perfectly well that no one supported her and that she would have to continue her battle with her daughter-in-law alone. Quinn had disliked Faith from the moment she first met her. When Louis brought his future wife to meet the family, there was something about this delicate, red-haired girl that turned Quinn's insides upside down. Quinn tried every possible way to tarnish Faith's reputation in her son's eyes. She believed Faith was a cunning gold digger, pretending to be a meek lamb while actually being a wolf in sheep's clothing. Faith was a kind, open girl who got along with everyone except her mother-in-law. Son, what do you see in her? Quinn would constantly ask Louis. She only wants your money and your name. If you were an ordinary working guy, she wouldn't even look at you, she'd pass you by without a second glance. Think about it. When a guy from a well-known family in town drives a fancy car to college, courts a girl beautifully, and gives her luxurious gifts, any girl would follow him to the ends of the earth. But if you were just a regular guy approaching her to introduce yourself, she wouldn't even talk to you. Girls like her know their worth because they've been told it many times. Mom, stop badmouthing my wife, Louis said. If you don't stop, we'll have a serious falling out, and you'll end up losing not just a daughter-in-law but also a son. Mark my words, you'll cry over your beloved wife. My motherly intuition tells me something is wrong here. But I won't insist, so you won't be upset. I'm just giving you advice as a loving mother. I worry about you, not myself. Quinn, being an unfulfilled actress, knew exactly when to leave the stage to avoid being pelted with rotten tomatoes. Overacting was also not an option. Meanwhile, Faith unexpectedly found common ground with Homer, despite his reputation for having a difficult and irritable nature. One day, he heard Faith playing his late wife's favorite piece on the old piano in the living room and, surprised, went downstairs to see who had resurrected the memory of his past. "No one has touched the keys of this piano for many years," Homer said quietly as he entered the living room. "At first, I thought I was dreaming, but then I realized that someone was really playing our old piano, and it was Rosalie's favorite composition." "I'm sorry," Faith replied. "I didn't think anyone would hear. I didn't mean to stir up painful memories. I didn't want to." "What?" "You gave me the joy of immersing myself in memories for a few minutes, to mentally visit the times when my Rosalie was still alive and well. I haven't felt anything like that in so long. Thank you, Faith, for these moments." As he spoke, Homer seemed to grow younger by several decades. His face took on a certain serenity and tranquility. After that evening, he and Faith shared a little secret. They would occasionally close themselves off in the distant living room and have evenings of reminiscence. Homer would show Faith numerous photo albums from the family archive, and she would play Rosalie's favorite pieces on the piano at his request. Not even Louis knew about their gatherings. "Look here, Faith," Homer said, flipping through the numerous photos. "This is Rosalie and me in Venice. There was a carnival going on at the time. Rosalie loved such events. She always dressed up to match the theme. What a beautiful dress." Faith genuinely admired. "And your wife was very beautiful too. Don't be afraid to say it out loud. We're all mortal, and each of us will sooner or later move to the other world when our time comes. Rosalie was a bright person, so she was needed more in the other world than here," Homer mused, drifting mentally into his happy past when he was still with Rosalie. This elderly man loved his wife so deeply that after her untimely death, he never remarried, despite having many suitors. Faith immensely respected Homer's choice. There was something both very sad and beautiful about it. He seemed to her like a medieval knight in black armor, who wore eternal mourning for his departed beloved. Faith was convinced that such love could overcome space and time, and if there was an afterlife, Homer would surely meet Rosalie there, because their time-tested love deserved continuation. Faith also found common ground with Nicole. Nicole openly admired Faith's beauty, took cues from her in everything, and often invited her to various artistic events. Faith was happy to go out with her, if only to avoid encountering her mother-in-law. "Faith, I have 2 tickets to the movies. Let's go this weekend, there's some premiere, and all the girls are going with their boyfriends, but I have no one to go with," Nicole asked. "Of course, we'll go. I'll just let Louis know, in case he had any plans for the weekend," Faith replied. Nicole made such requests several times a month, and Faith always managed to find time in her busy schedule to not disappoint her sister-in-law. The mother-in-law couldn't bear such a blow. Not only had this brazen girl won over all the men in the family, but now she was also taking away her own daughter. Quinn, too, wouldn't mind going out alone with her daughter, but such invitations never came her way. "Look at this schemer," the mother-in-law hissed in the bedroom, alone with her husband. "She's deliberately turning my own daughter against me. But I'll show her, she'll regret this." "Quinn, stop talking nonsense. This is starting to sound paranoid," Aidan said. "So now I'm crazy in your eyes?" Quinn exclaimed, her face flushing with anger. "She's manipulated everyone around her, hypnotized them, and you don't even notice how you dance to her tune. She's like a Pied Piper leading you all off a cliff. She wants to destroy our entire family. Our Titanic is racing towards an inevitable encounter with a fatal iceberg. And here you all are, intoxicated by her sweet words and songs of this bloodthirsty siren. And I'm the crazy one. After those metaphors and allegories, I'm starting to doubt your mental health even more," Aidan replied. "By the way, in case you've forgotten, I am your lawful wife, not Faith, and as a good husband, you should protect and support me, not help her destroy our family hearth. Or maybe there's something I don't know, some special reason you defend her." Quinn choked with indignation. God. I remind you, not only am I your husband, but also the father of 2 children. It's my duty to protect my son and daughter and represent their interests in their absence. Meanwhile, you're bad-mouthing Faith behind their backs, condemning Louis and Nicole where they can't hear you. None of them have the opportunity to challenge your arguments, so I'll take on the role of their advocate. Look at him. Did anyone ask you to do this for them? And here I am asking you to stand up for my honor. But you still choose not to. Her husband's words hurt her deeply and fueled even greater resentment toward her future daughter-in-law. Well, nothing, Quinn thought, revenge is a dish best served cold. The plan for revenge came suddenly, prompted by life's circumstances. Faith often went away for shoots, and the mother-in-law decided to use her absences to alleviate the loneliness of her son, whom she believed was bored. When Faith left for another week-long shoot, Quinn invited her friends to a cocktail party with an auction. The Erickson cottage was filled with the local elite. Cream of society came to show off their new evening gowns and jewelry and gossip. Louis was dazzled by the variety of fashionable outfits that had gathered in his home, like moths to a flame. "Mom, what's the occasion for this impromptu party?" Louis asked with a smirk when he saw the guests. "Son, you know I lead a foundation for orphan children. This is a charity event. All the money raised will go to poor orphans." "That's strange. Why are only women participating in this act of mercy?" "Because our men are busy making money, and our lovely ladies are contributing their bit to restoring social justice. Moreover, not everyone has husbands, so should they have brought in the first person they met into our circle? This is a private event. Entrance is by invitation only. So, why are you alone? Where is your lovely wife when we need her presence?" Many, incidentally, were interested in the reason for her absence. I had to lie again to avoid being teased. Why do I always have to be ashamed of Faith and defend everyone, trying to keep the good name of our family? Mom, you're starting again. Louis, just understand me. You don't need such a wife. You earn a lot and can easily support a large family, and in the worst case, Dad and I will always help. Good wife would have been happy with her happiness, stayed at home, as befits a normal woman with such a husband, would have borne an heir, engaged in his upbringing, but she is in an unclear place with whom. Why did she marry at all? She is thinking only about herself. She's building a career when there's no family. Look at me. I could have been a famous actress too. But I met your father, fell in love, and put my future career on the altar of family happiness. And I never regretted it for a second. Yes, but you reminds Dad of this at every convenient opportunity. I do it so he remembers what I sacrificed for our family. No one appreciates it. They take it for granted. Besides me, who else has put so much effort into our household? Everyone contributes, Mom. Each person makes their own contribution. Grandpa founded our lineage of architects and builders, laid the financial groundwork, and continues to make significant financial and creative investments. He established a construction company that ranks among the top in the country. I helped Dad increase profitability and investment attractiveness, expanding the business. Nicole is studying to be a designer and could work successfully in our company's design department if she wants. As for Faith, she represents a different profession. She can't just abandon her calling to please us. Why can't she? Quinn protested, her face flushing. I can do it. Why can't she? What makes her better than me? It's not like she belongs to the royal family. Son, she just not wanting to. And you continue to delude yourself that this is all temporary. Believe me, it's only going to get worse. If Faith behaves like this when she's just a little-known actress, I dread to think what our life will be like after she gains fame. I'm afraid we'll have to schedule appointments just to see her. Mom, what are you talking about? Louis said out of habit, but this time his mother managed to sow seeds of doubt in his mind. The fact is, he had already started to wonder what would happen if his wife became popular. He knew countless stories where marital happiness did not survive such tests. Quinn knew her business and understood that she was doing everything right. "Louis, look who's here. Do you remember Angela?" Quinn asked, leading a tanned brunette to her son. "You used to be in the same swimming group together. Angela is now a master of synchronized swimming. You should see their performance. It's a real water ballet." "Angela?" Louis asked in surprise. He had seen her last in the 11th grade, and after entering college, he stopped attending and their paths diverged. "Yes, it's me," the girl smiled, "and you've hardly changed. I recognized you right away, but I didn't dare to approach until your mom kindly offered me her help." "Oh yes, my mom is the epitome of kindness." "Can't argue with that," Louis laughed, and out of the corner of his eye noticed Quinn stepping back to discreetly leave the young people alone. "I'm very glad I accepted your mom's invitation to come here, even though it's the first time we've seen each other in so many years. By the way, I often think of you. We sort of started dating, and then you got into college and completely forgot about me. I'm sorry, I thought we were just good friends, and I didn't realize you took it differently. You're definitely a lovely woman, but I couldn't offer you anything beyond friendship back then, and certainly not now. If my mother didn't tell you, let me clarify that I've been married for a long time and I'm happy in my marriage. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to impose or make any claims. I just wanted to know why you disappeared without a trace, even quit swimming. I enrolled in college, where they had their own swimming group, so I switched there. Well, you could have at least given me a heads up. I thought we weren't strangers, or was that just my perception? And for you, it was probably different. Angela, I guess I know why my mom threw this party. The main goal was to bring us together. She dreams of divorcing me from my wife. But our desires don't coincide. In my plans, there's no divorce from my current wife, nor am I looking for a new one. So sorry, Angela, I was glad to see you, but not under these circumstances. I don't know what my mom told you, but I suspect none of it matches reality. Okay, I should probably go. Yeah, I think it's time for me to go too. I didn't plan on attending my mom's event. It just happened that she's hosting it in our shared home without even asking anyone's opinion about it. Louis was uncomfortable having to be rude to her, but he understood that being overly polite in such a situation would be even worse. He had deciphered Quinn's scheme and grasped the true motive behind tonight's masquerade ball. The party had stretched into the early hours of the morning. Louis felt like the night would never end and sighed with relief when he saw the courtyard finally emptying out. As the guests dispersed, Louis found his mother and directly confronted her about her actions. "Mom, do you really think you're smarter than everyone in this house? Why did you organize this show?" he asked bluntly. "Son, what are you talking about? What show?" "Our foundation decided to host a charity evening, and I kindly suggested saving on organizational costs by holding it here at our house. We host such evenings several times a year," his mother replied calmly. "Well, yes, and conveniently, you decided to hold this evening while my wife is away. And you forgot to invite other men. So I ended up being the center of attention for all these gold diggers," Louis retorted. "But at least you got to see other women, to see the diversity that exists in the world. It's not worth fixating on just one thing," his mother reasoned. "I'm a married man who loves his wife and is happy with our marriage. Everything is fine with my woman. If it weren't, I wouldn't have gotten married in the first place. Why do you constantly interfere in our lives? What are you trying to achieve?" Louis shot back. "I want you to finally see things clearly and stop behaving like a child. You correctly noted about the gold diggers, but you happen to be married to one of them. And the girls who were at our house, they come from high society themselves. They have their own money and status. Think about that," his mother responded. With that said, Quinn retreated to her room looking like a victorious gladiator. She knew she had lost the battle, but that didn't mean she had lost the war. She needed to devise a new strategy. Moreover, Elections for a new leader of the foundation were coming up soon, and Quinn planned to put herself forward as a candidate. To win over the members of the General Assembly who weren't vying for the leadership position but still had a vote, she needed to come up with something original. She had already organized a party with an auction, but she couldn't afford to relax. Her competition included Camilla Pike and Eleanor Williams, both notable figures due to their husbands' statuses. Camilla was the wife of a prosecutor, and Eleanor was married to the CEO of a major bank. Quinn needed to sway those who weren't interested in the leadership position but had influence at the assembly. "Hello, Mila, we need to meet and discuss the foundation's development plans. Don't you think we've been stagnant lately?" "Oh, Quinn, I've been saying for a while that we're not focusing on the right things. All this is just a facade. Who needs these drawing contests anyway? Okay, we've held a couple, but we shouldn't do them all the time. We need to diversify our events. You did well with the auction though. We relaxed and managed to raise funds. Listen, if Camilla wins the election for the new foundation leader, instead of wallpaper, we might end up with drawings from her endless monotonous contests. It would be better to organize an exhibition. By the way, that's a great idea. What if we organize an exhibition of the best works? We still have drawings from all those contests, right? Yes, they're in the closet, in boxes, next to the report folders, as proof of the events. Fantastic. Tomorrow, let's go through those drawings together, and I'll ask Nicole to help me organize the exhibition. We'll invite all the kids whose works are selected, or their legal guardians, the press, officials, media personalities, everyone. We need to make it beautiful, choose an interesting theme, and create suitable decorations. This event is going to make a splash, I'm sure of it. How do you come up with these ideas? I would never have thought of that. I always know my business. I have to win the leadership race, otherwise our foundation faces an unpleasant fate. Don't you think Camilla will turn to her husband for support, and he'll use his administrative leverage? We also have plenty of connections. Let's see who ultimately prevails. Okay, Mila, see you. Hanging up, Quinn was already mentally trying on the laurels of victory. She marveled at her own luck. A brilliant idea had literally come to her during a mundane phone call. One less problem. Now she just had to implement her plan. While her daughter-in-law was away, Quinn had time to focus on her own plans for conquering the world. As a candidate for the leadership of the charitable foundation, she showed up the next day at the foundation to select suitable drawings for her planned event. The theme of the exhibition will be, "In the World of Animals." Any drawings depicting any animals will be suitable. Mila, do you remember if we had any drawing contests where participants had to depict animals? Quinn asked as they began to sift through the archive of children's artwork. To be honest, I don't remember, but each event is listed in the report folder, detailing how the funds were spent. Since we always awarded participants and winners, money was definitely spent, Mila replied. That will significantly simplify our task, Quinn said, pulling out the folder of reports. Let's see what we have here. Ah, the My Pet contest was held last year. Funny Animals contest was the year before. So, we need to look for boxes with drawings from 2022 and 2021. Here they are, right in front of you. Exactly. I was looking and not seeing. Let's split up, you choose from 2021, and I'll take 2022. And what exactly are we looking for? Well, something that we won't be ashamed to show people. Look for the most visually appealing drawings. Quinn returned home with the selected drawings and decided to ask her daughter for help with the exhibition setup, hoping to improve their relationship at the same time. She climbed the stairs and knocked on Nicole's bedroom door, from which rock music was blaring. "Nicole, can I come in?" When there was no response, Quinn knocked more insistently and, after a brief pause, entered. Her daughter was sitting at her desk with headphones on, oblivious to her mother's presence. "Nicole, why do you wear headphones when you already have music playing?" Nicole hadn't noticed her mother enter, so Quinn had to gently tap her to get her attention. "Mom, you scared me. Why are you sneaking up on me? I tried knocking, but you had the music up so loud and you wearing headphones on top of that. What do you want? This is my personal space. Can I at least do what I like here, in my own way? Honey, I'm not here to argue. It sure doesn't seem like it. Nicole, your mom needs your help. And how can I help you? You're creative, studying to be a designer. I could really use your skills. We're organizing a children's art exhibition with the theme, In the World of Animals. I brought some suitable drawings from last year's contests. We need to design the exhibit and the space itself. Maybe you'll come up with some interesting ideas. You can do whatever you think is best. But remember, this is a children's art exhibition under our foundation's banner. We'll have public figures, media, and other well-known people attending, so everything needs to be appropriate and within certain limits. I can do whatever I want, but you've already given me a bunch of conditions. You have a strange idea of freedom, Mom. But, Nicole, please help. No one else can handle this like you can. Plus, I need to finish the event by the end of the month because the election for the new foundation leader is at the beginning of next month. This is my last chance to win unequivocally. I need to show everyone that my event ideas are 100, no, 1,000 times better than Camila's and Eleanor's. Their ideas are always boring and monotonous. Camila knows nothing beyond drawing contests, and Eleanor wants to monetize every event, probably because her husband is a financier. It's infectious, I guess. I'm not sure what we can do in such a short time, but I promise I'll think it over. I don't know what can be done in such a short time, but I promise I'll think about it. How much time do I have to come up with something? A week, no more. If I don't present a well-thought-out idea by the end of the week, they'll go with one of those idiot suggestions, and I won't be able to handle that. You're taking this foundation drama too much to heart. How can you say that? This is my baby, my hobby. You get upset when I don't understand you drawing day and night, but you don't see that the foundation is my outlet. What else am I supposed to do? You've all grown up and don't need my constant attention anymore. If I interfere in your lives, you don't like it, so I need something to focus on. If I don't have tasks to focus on in the foundation, I'll completely lose my mind. Alright, if it means that much to you, I promise to put in my best effort and meet the deadline. Just one thing, please don't interrupt me multiple times a day. I'll come to you when I have results or questions. Agreed? Agreed, Quinn replied, realizing that she was already halfway to success. Nicole was a responsible and creative girl, so Quinn was confident in a favorable outcome, which meant she was almost certain to win the upcoming election. Only a few details remained. While Nicole worked out the exhibition details, Quinn could focus on her daughter-in-law. That insolent upstart had to be dealt with at any cost. A couple of days later, Faith returned home. She came back from the shoot excited and happy, bringing gifts for everyone. She gave Nicole posters signed by her favorite rock musicians, a lacy shawl for her mother-in-law, a photo album of architectural masterpieces for her father-in-law, a knitted vest for Homer, and a bolo tie with an original clasp for her husband. But on the fertile ground, watered abundantly with her mother-in-law's bile, seeds of doubt had already sprouted. Louis began to feel suspicious of his wife. Everything about her now seemed suspect. "Why are you so happy?" Louis asked his wife, unable to hold back. "Did something special happen?" "Louis, I'm just happy to be home after a week away," Faith replied. "I've never seen you this happy to come back before. Usually, there's a hint of sadness and disappointment that your movie adventures ended so quickly. Why are you talking to me like this? Where are these thoughts coming from? You never cared about my work before, so what's changed this time? The work is the same, and so am I. Do you have a reason to doubt me?" Faith said, hurt, and left the room. For the first time in a long while, she felt that her husband didn't trust her. Louis followed her, continuing with his questions. And what's with the gifts, without any occasion? Do gifts always need an occasion? I thought if you give them from the heart, there's no need for a reason. I just wanted to make my loved ones happy. Maybe someone's conscience isn't clear, and they're trying to make up for something subconsciously. What guilt are you talking about? Do you think I did something wrong and now I'm asking for forgiveness? People often do that. For example, a friend's wife damaged the car while parking and bought him a gift on the way home so he wouldn't scold her too much. Since she'd done something similar before, he immediately asked what happened this time, and she confessed. I didn't touch your car. Don't worry about that. It doesn't have to be about the car. That was just an example. Are you sure there's no hidden reason behind these gifts? I'm sure. I just wanted to make my loved ones happy. But it seems I achieved the opposite effect, so I've learned my lesson and won't give anyone anything outside of official holidays and special dates. Are you satisfied now? Quite, Louis said, but his doubts lingered. His wife's quick agreement with his points, without any resistance or defense, made him wonder. Perhaps she was just trying to lull his suspicions. Faith embarked on her next work trip in low spirits, feeling a heavy sense of unease. The atmosphere at home was tense, charged with mistrust that could explode into a storm at any moment. Despite this, Faith went to her audition, knowing that if she was cast, it would mean a promising long-term project. The casting director immediately noticed Faith's low mood. Faith, are you okay? You're not doing well in the audition. This won't work. It's better if we stop now and not waste any more time. Robert, I can do it. I just need to pull myself together. Can I go last? I need to get some fresh air, I'm feeling dizzy. Alright, but remember, there won't be a second chance. You might want to reschedule for another day. The casting runs for another week and we have many candidates. Okay, I'll sign up for the end of the week. I'll be better by then. Yes, take care of yourself. Get some vitamins, try aromatherapy, get a massage, whatever you need. Just come back full of energy and positivity, or you won't make it. Another big project like this won't come around soon. I'll do my best, Faith replied, walking out of the casting hall. She wandered aimlessly through the evening city, feeling a deep melancholy and a crushing weight in her chest. Something in her life was amiss, but she couldn't pinpoint what. Auditions no longer brought her the joy they once did, she couldn't throw herself into her roles with the same passion as before. Faith spent the rest of the week holed up in her hotel room, her mood not improving. She realized she missed home and her husband terribly. That was what she truly lacked. They had seen so little of each other lately that they had grown distant, losing their close connection. Not long ago, they had been inseparable. Additionally, Faith was experiencing severe dizziness and nausea. She thought she might have food poisoning and took medication, but it didn't help. By the end of the week, she knew she couldn't go through with the audition because of her depressive mood, morning dizziness, and nausea. Robert, I'm sorry. I think I'm ill. I feel terrible and can't do the audition. Please remove me from the list. I apologize for this, it wasn't intentional. Faith, you look awful. You're pale and have dark circles under your eyes. Go see a doctor immediately. I'll go home and see one there. What if you get worse on the way home? You don't even know what's wrong. That's not a good idea. Go to a local doctor today, get checked out, run some tests. Maybe you need hospitalization, a stomach wash, or an 4. Go now and call me when you have some results. Okay, I will. Thank you, and sorry again for the inconvenience. Don't apologize, it happens. It's a shame that you missed such a project, but it seems it was meant to be. I'm on my way, Faith replied and headed to the nearest clinic. Faith sat in a spacious doctor's office. Hello. My name is Dr. Nast. What seems to be the problem? Any specific complaints? Hello, doctor. I came to this city for a casting, but I couldn't participate because I've been feeling dizzy all week, especially in the mornings. I've also been feeling nauseous and have lost my appetite. I can't eat anything because the smell of food makes me feel sick. Have you ever had similar symptoms before, or is this the first time? Once, when I was in college, I got food poisoning from canned food. It felt somewhat similar, but I also had stomach pains then. Do you have any stomach pains now, or did you have any during the days you felt unwell? I've had some strange sensations in my lower abdomen, like a pulling feeling, but no severe pain. Have you seen any other specialists recently? No, I didn't know what was wrong with me, so I decided to see a general practitioner first. I thought you could guide me on where to go next. I can't say for sure what's wrong yet. Let's do some tests, and we'll see what the results show. The results will be ready in 2 to 3 days. You'll be notified by SMS. There will be a link where you can access the results. Once you have the results, come back to me, and we'll decide what to do next. Is that clear? Yes. Thank you. Goodbye, Faith replied and went to get her tests done. She hated hospitals and anything related to them, and she was especially terrified of needles and blood draws. The nurse seemed to understand her fear and laughed. My goodness, all grown up and still scared. Don't worry, we don't bite here. Everything will be fine. The way the medical staff spoke to her like a child lifted her spirits a bit, and she felt less afraid. Faith completed all the necessary tests and left the examination room, heading back to her hotel. The next day, she received an SMS with a link to her test results. Even though she didn't understand much about medical laboratory tests, curiosity got the better of her, and she decided to take a look. The numerous entries with unfamiliar terms didn't make much sense to her, nor did the numerical values. However, she soon noticed that next to her data was a column with normal ranges, making it clear where there were deviations from the norm. Most of Faith's values were within normal limits, except for one hormone with a complicated name, human chorionic gonadotropin, HCG, which was 3 units when the normal range was up to 5 units. Not wanting to wait for her next doctor's appointment, she decided to look up the information online. Faith was shocked by what she saw. She certainly didn't expect this, but the information seemed reliable, and the symptoms matched. Now she needed to digest the information and reassess her views on many things. Following Faith's departure on a business trip, Homer unexpectedly took a taxi in an unknown direction, which was a complete shock to his entire family. For the past 10 years, he had been working remotely and never left the confines of their cottage community. Meanwhile, Faith's mother-in-law decided that such an opportunity should not be missed, especially when it fell right into her hands. She conducted a search in her daughter-in-law's bedroom, scouring every shelf, delving into every drawer, inspecting bags, pockets, and even examining each paper from the stack of found documents. She peered under the bed and pulled out items from the wardrobe. Growing increasingly frustrated with not finding anything compromising or even remotely interesting, Quinn kicked the cluttered pile of shoeboxes she had extracted from the wardrobe. The boxes clattered noisily, spilling their contents onto the floor. To her surprise, amidst new pairs of shoes, there lay a thick-bound book. Holding it in her hand, Quinn sensed she had stumbled upon a treasure. It was her daughter-in-law's personal diary, filled with numerous entries. Well, Faith, let's see what you're hiding from my son," Quinn said aloud as she began to read the diary. Half an hour later, Quinn found what she was looking for. Entries written in Faith's own hand eloquently exposed her infidelity in such poetic form. Destroying any trace of her unauthorized intrusion into the room, Quinn made sure to take the discovered valuable evidence with her. A couple of hours later, Louis returned home from work, and his mother hurried to present him with proof of his wife's adultery. "Here, son, take a look. And you didn't believe me. I found confirmation. Your Faith wrote here with her own hands about her affair with that handsome actor." "What are you talking about, Mom?" Louis asked, bewildered, not understanding what was being discussed. "I found Faith's diary. She must have forgotten it here. I went into your bedroom to change the sheets. I saw this book lying on the floor. I couldn't resist flipping through the open page, and there it was. I'm sorry, but I couldn't keep this from you. Read it yourself if you don't believe me. You should recognize your wife's handwriting, Quinn explained, handing the diary with a bookmark on the relevant page to her stunned son. Louis read the contents of several pages, flipped through the diary, and in despair, cast it aside. How could I have missed seeing that my wife was having an affair with someone from work, right under my nose? Naive, I thought she was different from everyone else. Now I'll be a laughingstock among our friends, Louis thought to himself. From that moment on, he became somber, hardly engaging with anyone until Faith returned. Returning a few days later, blissfully unaware, Faith entered their marital bedroom to change and share joyful news with her husband. Louis approached her, shaking the diary in her face. "What's this? Is this yours?" he demanded. "Yes, it's my diary," Faith replied, still puzzled by what was happening. "Great. At least you have the audacity not to deny anything," Louis accused. "Why should I deny anything? What's wrong with it?" Faith asked. "You're asking me what's wrong? You personally wrote about cheating on me and now you're admitting it, without even feeling ashamed." "Wait, what? What are you talking about?" "You cheated on me with your movie star lover," Louis shouted so loudly that it seemed the windows rattled. The noise drew the rest of the household, turning the argument into a family affair. "Louis, please, I've never cheated on you with any actors or anyone else. The diary isn't about my personal life, it's notes for my roles and characters. It helps me get into character, like cheat sheets in school. I wanted to write a book in the future based on the diary, like memoirs. And now is really not the time for a fight." "You're a good actress," Louis said bitterly. "Look how quickly and smoothly you came up with all that. You must have rehearsed it, practiced sounding confident even while lying." "Not the time for a fight," Faith repeated. "Maybe you should schedule a time for me to officially accuse you, since you seem to have everything planned out," Louis retorted sarcastically. "Louis, please, I have something important to tell you. I love you and have always been faithful. And I have news for us, for everyone, but I need to talk to you alone first." "Please, listen to me," Faith implored. "Son, why are you even listening to her? It's clear now that she's been going to her lover all this time while telling you fairy tales about our future happy life, already building it with someone else," Quinn interjected, indignant. "Why do you all keep making up things about me?" Faith asked. "I'm making it up. You wrote it all yourself in your diary," Quinn accused. "Faith, I didn't expect this from you," Aiden said disappointedly. "Aiden, I didn't do anything wrong, please understand me. This is all just creative material, nothing more," Faith defended herself. "Faith, this all looks like a cheap play. It would be much better if you just honestly admitted everything, don't degrade yourself and us with lies. Even criminals get lighter sentences if they confess and repent. Tell the truth, repent." "But I am telling the truth, and none of you believe me," Faith said. "Because it doesn't sound like the truth. These are just excuses you came up with on the spot. Who in their right mind would believe this? Homer, at least you believe me. You know me well. Have we not discussed our life together with Louis so much? Do I really seem like someone who would betray her beloved? Please, at least don't abandon me," Faith pleaded. "Don't worry, Faith. I believe you, but I'm afraid I don't have much influence in this situation anymore. All I can suggest is for everyone to calm down and think things over later. Why are we ganging up on her? Let's sit down calmly and discuss everything," Homer pleaded with a tone of appeal in his voice, trying to defend Faith. "There's nothing to discuss here, Grandpa," Nicole said. "Everyone except you already understands what happened. All this time, this actress played the role of a good wife perfectly. She tried to please everyone, gained everyone's trust. Only Mom couldn't be fooled. Mom was right. Faith only needed our name for a quick career start. And she used our money too. She made herself a convenient schedule. A week at home, the rest of the time traveling. I wouldn't be surprised if she specifically chose projects that required long absences from here. Nicole, when did I offend you that you turned away from me so quickly? I've always been on your side, Faith said sadly. You were on my side because it benefited you. That's how you gained my support, and after what you did to my brother, do you think I'll continue to support you? Sorry, but when it comes to choosing between you and my brother, I'll always choose him. I'll never forgive you for such betrayal, even if Louis forgives someday, which I doubt, Nicole replied firmly. How dare you? Without any real evidence, you've already accused me of every mortal sin, and everyone has thrown stones at me. I could endure even that, it's not the first time. But since even my own husband doesn't believe me, what's the point of staying under the same roof with all of you who want to hurt me? Faith shouted tearfully and, slamming the door, left the bedroom. In tears, she ran out of the house into the unknown, sprinting down the empty street until her legs gave way, and finally, completely exhausted, she collapsed right on the ground. The day was nearing its end. Faith felt like her whole life had reached some invisible line, crossing which she could never be the same again. Something inside her had broken. Faith had nowhere to go. Her parents lived in another city, and she had no money with her since she had rushed out without even taking her purse. She couldn't go back now, unsure if she would be allowed in or allowed to retrieve her things. Besides, she didn't want to face anyone's unjust accusations and reproaches. She had had enough emotional turmoil for today. Her college friend Phoebe was the closest acquaintance nearby. Faith walked for a long time before spotting the first taxi parked along her path. She took it to Phoebe's place, hoping her longtime friend wouldn't refuse to shelter her even for a couple of days until she could sort out her finances and find a place to stay. Phoebe, Faith's college mate, hadn't married and still lived in a one-bedroom apartment on the outskirts of the city, shared with two Maine Coon cats. The door opened to a sleepy girl in a pink terrycloth robe. Behind her, a surprised giant cat face appeared in the doorway. At first, Faith didn't even realize it was just a large breed cat and cautiously eyed the furry creature with ear tufts. Phoebe, hey, it's Faith. We studied together in college. Faith began tentatively. Oh, Faith, I didn't even recognize you. What are you doing here? And why so late? Did something happen? Phoebe interrupted with concern. Yeah, it's a long story. I'll tell you everything, but right now I really need your help. I have nowhere else to go, you see. I had to leave home in a hurry, and I don't even have my wallet with me, not even a phone. Could you possibly shelter me? Just for a couple of days until I can get some money, if it's not too much trouble, Faith explained earnestly. Come in, of course. Let's go to the kitchen. I'll put the kettle on. You must be freezing, Phoebe replied warmly. Phoebe, I have one more favor to ask. Could you lend me some money? I took a taxi here and promised to pay upon arrival, but I don't have my wallet, Faith asked hesitantly. Sure thing, Phoebe said, pulling out a few bills. Here, go settle with the taxi driver. I'll make tea and find you some clothes to change into. Thank you so much, Faith said gratefully and hurried off to pay the waiting taxi driver downstairs. When she returned to her friend's apartment, Phoebe had already set the table and prepared a change of clothes for her. She had changed into warm pajamas that smelled pleasantly of fabric conditioner. Faith immediately felt much better. There was hot fragrant tea on the table, oatmeal cookies, and cherry jam. The friends sat down to tea and reminisced about their university days. Meanwhile, Faith was being observed by two pairs of green eyes. Both Maine Coons were scrutinizing the uninvited guest from the kitchen threshold. Why are your kitties looking at me so strangely, Phoebe? Do they not like me? Faith asked with a forced smile. I rarely have guests, and it's late. Normally, we're all asleep by now, but Darcy and Romeo won't settle down without me. They're very calm and kind. They just don't understand what's going on, so they're watching, studying. They're smart and perceptive, Phoebe reassured her. All right, I'll take your word for it, Faith replied with a slightly playful smile. The girls talked until early morning, and Darcy and Romeo eventually fell asleep right on the kitchen floor, taking up all the available space. That night, when Faith left home, the strain was too much for Homer's heart. He began to feel unwell, clutching at his chest, desperately trying to breathe. After a while, he collapsed, unconscious. Grandpa, what's happening to you? Somebody, help. Grandpa's not well. Nicole screamed, rushing downstairs upon hearing the commotion. The servants and other household members gathered in panic. Everyone, step back. He needs air. Open the window wider. Call an ambulance. Aidan instructed, taking charge while others panicked, not knowing what to do. The ambulance arrived promptly, but despite the medics' efforts, Homer couldn't be revived, and they decided on urgent hospitalization. Homer had suffered a massive heart attack. He was rushed to the hospital, but the situation was dire. For a full day, doctors fought for his life in the intensive care unit. However, despite their best efforts, the elderly man passed away the following day without regaining consciousness. The most challenging task was delivering this sad news to Leonard, but it had to be done quickly so he could make it in time for the funeral. Aidan held himself together as best he could, understanding that no one else could handle this but him. He dialed his brother's number. Leonard, urgently book tickets for the next flight. Dad passed away, Aidan said. When? How did it happen? Leonard responded in shock. He suddenly fell ill yesterday, they took him in an ambulance, and today he passed away in the hospital. Doctors said it was a massive heart attack, nothing could be done, Aidan explained. All right, I'll wrap things up at the department and fly over immediately. The next day, Leonard's family arrived in full to say their goodbyes to their father and grandfather. The funeral was arranged for 3 days later. Relatives, friends, colleagues, and acquaintances from all over the city came to bid farewell to the prominent architect. Despite the recent discord, Faith couldn't help but pay her last respects. Tearful, she joined the funeral procession at the cemetery. Why did you come here? Louis's mother confronted her. Who invited you? It's all because of you that this happened, and you have the audacity to show up here as if nothing happened. Don't try to pretend innocence. We've all seen your true colors. Faith, leave. You're not welcome here. Is that so hard to understand? You could have figured it out yourself, Louis added angrily. Louis, please, just listen to me calmly for once. I thought in this situation you wouldn't try to cause a scene and would let me explain everything to you, Faith pleaded. I need to tell you something. I don't want to see you, hear you, or know you anymore. I'm filing for divorce, and please change your last name after it's finalized. I don't want you tarnishing it, Louis said, leaving Faith bewildered among the gray tombstones. Faith stood aside for a while during the burial, then timidly approached Louis's mother. Quinn, may I at least retrieve my things? I left without them a few days ago, and Louis doesn't want to talk to me, Faith asked. We don't need your junk. Come back in the evening to pick it up, Quinn replied. Thank you, Faith replied quickly and left the cemetery. Later in the evening, Faith returned to her former home to collect her abandoned clothes. Louis's mother opened the door as if she had been waiting there all this time. Just do it quickly and make sure you don't miss anything, because it will be awkward for you to come back, Quinn said with a sly smirk. Louis is soon marrying my friend's daughter, Angela, and she's already pregnant with his child. Unlike some, she didn't waste time thinking about her career and immediately fulfilled her role as a woman. This girl isn't wasting any time, so I recommend you settle the divorce quickly and finally leave my son alone. He deserves a happy and peaceful life, which you can never give him. Because of you, we were always on edge. Every day brought a new surprise. Don't worry. I'll handle everything properly. Just leave me alone for a while to pack my bags, Faith said. She waited until Quinn had demonstratively crossed the room and burst into tears as soon as the door to her former bedroom closed behind Louis's mother. Grieving her fate, Faith began packing her things. She couldn't stay here and pity herself forever. Rifling through a drawer filled with her old music notebooks, Faith discovered a peculiar envelope. Inside was a handwritten note from the late Homer: "Darling, go up to the attic. In an old chest, you'll find a box from a chocolate tin, and inside, something you'll find useful." Intrigued, Faith headed to the attic where a carved wooden chest stood in a corner, its ornamentation reminiscent of illustrations from children's fairy tales. Lifting its lid, she indeed found a metal box from a chocolate tin. With Quinn potentially arriving any moment to spoil things, she couldn't afford to examine its contents thoroughly at that time. Faith placed the discovered metal box into one of her suitcases and carried it out with the rest of her belongings. Returning to Phoebe, Faith finally opened the metal tin and discovered her mother-in-law's diary inside. It seemed Quinn had kept it when she was young, and flipping through the faded entries, Faith stumbled upon some rather scandalous details from Quinn's lively youth. It turned out Quinn had never truly loved her husband. But the most shocking revelation was that she had entrusted the diary with a secret that defined her entire life. Louis's older son, meaning Faith's husband himself, was not Aiden's child, but rather the son of her classmate John Tells, with whom Quinn had once harbored a strong passion. Reading this, Faith nearly fainted. Such a turn of events was beyond her expectations. Inside the metal box was also a letter addressed to Faith from Homer. "Faith, I found this diary discarded in the fireplace over 30 years ago. It didn't burn that day by pure chance. The hearth was never lit that day, and when I personally started to kindle it, I suddenly saw a blue binding among the kindling. I didn't tell anyone then, didn't want to ruin my son's family, but now this information may serve you in defending your honor. Also, you should know that I've bequeathed my country house to you. Yes, my dear, to you, not to my son or grandson, who isn't really my grandson at all. To you, my dear Faith, because you reminded me of my first and only love, Rosalie. Of course, all my relatives will consider my last will a whim of an old man gone senile, but so be it. I've provided for them all sufficiently. Let the house remain with someone who can cherish it. I know Quinn dreams of selling this plot of land with all its buildings, as it's located in an elite cottage settlement and is worth a fortune. Then they'll demolish my beloved old house, designed and built for my unforgettable Rosalie, and they'll chop down the ancient forest and put up another ugly cottage, but I don't want that. This house is all I have left to remember the love of my life. So, Faith, promise me you won't refuse to fulfill my last wish." Attached to the letter was a copy of the will. After reading everything, Faith was in complete shock for a long time. What was she to do with this information? Homer had risked everything, worrying about her, and she couldn't let him down. But Faith also realized that she now held a veritable bombshell of information, one she would have to drop on the grieving relatives of the recently deceased architect. She hadn't yet recovered from the previous scandal, and now a new, even more momentous one was brewing. "Faith, why are you just standing there?" asked Phoebe, who had just returned from work. "Just thinking about something. Can I help with anything?" "I don't think anyone can help with this," Faith sighed. She spent an entire day pondering what she had read before finally deciding to call her husband. "Louis, please don't hang up. We all need to talk urgently. I have important information that concerns your entire family. Faith, there's nothing left to say between us. I've already made that clear. My lawyer will prepare the divorce papers and meet with you. You can bring your own lawyer to the meeting tomorrow. I assume you'll need one. I have Homer's last letter and a copy of his will. You'll find out the details tomorrow at noon," she said, then hung up. At exactly noon, the concerned Erickson family gathered in the dining room around the large table, awaiting Faith. They had also invited their family lawyer. Faith arrived with her own lawyer, as she didn't understand the intricacies of inheritance law and suspected that her mother-in-law would try to deceive her. Once everyone was seated around the table, Quinn impatiently began to protest. "You could have spared us the wait. Besides, I'm sure you don't have any documents from Homer, let alone his will." "I wouldn't be so sure if I were you," said the lawyer who had come with Faith. "Firstly, you are not me and never will be. Secondly, you might explain who you even are. Are you the so-called lover of Faith? If so, who invited you here, and what right do you have to voice your opinion, which none of us here are interested in? Faith, stop wasting our time and get to the point. Tell your friend to know his place." "Quinn, I hate to disappoint you, but this isn't my lover. He's a lawyer I invited to ensure you don't try to deceive me. He'll explain the legal aspects I don't understand. You needn't have bothered." "We've already invited our family lawyer, Mark Rock," Quinn said, smiling. "Exactly. Because Mark is your family lawyer, I invited an independent lawyer who can objectively assess the situation and answer all questions without bias or personal interest." "You don't trust us?" Quinn asked with feigned surprise. "Do I have any reason to trust you?" Faith retorted sarcastically. "All right, let's not get sidetracked. Bruce, my lawyer, will now read Homer's last will." The will was made in New York City on July 15, 2023. Clause 1. I, Homer Eriksson, being of sound mind and memory, acting voluntarily, hereby make the following dispositions. I bequeath my house with all its outbuildings, located on the property, as well as all movable property there, including furniture and interior items, to Faith Eriksson. Clause 2. This will is made in 2 copies, one of which is kept with the notary. The text of the will was recorded by the notary, accurately from my words. Before signing, I personally read the will in full, as confirmed by my signature below. What is going on here? Quinn shouted, her face red with anger. You con artist. And you brought your accomplice. Mark, prepare all the necessary documents to bring these 2 and their other collaborators to criminal justice immediately. Quinn, I will get right on it. First, we will conduct a preliminary handwriting analysis. We will also request information from the notary chamber about any wills registered in the name of the deceased. If none of the primary heirs have submitted a claim to the notary to accept the inherited property, I will do so. I already have the necessary powers of attorney from all family members. Mark, I want this fraudster to receive the harshest punishment possible. Even if she didn't forge the document, she somehow manipulated my elderly father-in-law and deceived him. That is fraud, isn't it? Yes, Quinn. Fraud includes not only theft but also obtaining rights to someone else's property through deceit or abuse of trust. If your daughter-in-law somehow deceived Homer, taking advantage of his trust to gain the property, it would be considered fraud. Quinn, do whatever you want, but the will is genuine, and I have the evidence to prove it. I won't reveal it now, I'll keep that ace up my sleeve for when it's necessary. Faith, we clearly underestimated you, exclaimed Nicole. To outmaneuver all the relatives in the inheritance matter is quite an achievement. Bravo! You'll go far with such bulldog tenacity. She'll be showing off that tenacity in a women's prison soon, Quinn retorted. Don't worry, dear, we'll protect our rights from this scoundrel. Quinn, don't try to insult me. I've developed an immunity to your offenses. I can't believe my father did this. How could he give our family estate, along with all its contents, to a complete outsider, harming his own children and grandchildren? He must have been out of his mind. Or the document is indeed forged. There can be no other explanations, concluded Aidan. The entire Eriksson family refused to accept the news. Everyone muttered in disbelief, not hiding their outrage. I'll go pack my things, we'll be kicked out of here soon anyway. Better to leave on my own terms, Nicole said sarcastically and demonstratively left the living room. Forgive me, everyone, this is my fault. If I hadn't married this woman and brought her into our family, Grandpa would still be alive, and we wouldn't have lost our home." With those harsh words, Louis left the room. His father followed suit. The lawyer bid farewell to everyone and departed to handle the necessary paperwork. Left at the table were Quinn, Faith, and Faith's lawyer. The latter also soon excused himself, citing his busy schedule. When Quinn made to leave the room, Faith stopped her. "My incomparable mother-in-law, I'd like you to stay. We still have some things to discuss. I've said everything already. We'll talk in court. Speak to me through my lawyer." "Quinn, please take a look at these photos," Faith said, pulled out photocopies of pages from the journal Homer had given her. "Recognize them? How did you get these?" Quinn exclaimed, paling. "This can't be. It was burned. You're bluffing. This is photoshopped. I'll deny everything and claim you fabricated it to frame me. Con artist. When did you manage to dig all this up? Who are your accomplices? I'm not bluffing. These photos were taken yesterday directly from the original. I have no accomplices. Homer gave me this journal along with a letter and his will. He has known for a long time that Louis isn't his grandson and that Aiden isn't his son, but he kept your secret to avoid destroying the family. However, seeing how you destroyed my family, Homer couldn't stand the injustice and decided to arm me against you. What do you intend to do with this information?" Quinn asked in a near whisper, looking visibly aged within minutes. "If you don't want this information to reach your husband and children, or worse, to surface during court proceedings and with the notary, then you will call off your attack dog and cease all legal action regarding this house. I assure you, I didn't forge anything nor did I ever ask Homer to will or gift me this house. His will was as much a shock to me as it is to you. But why did he do it? Why did he leave the house to you instead of his sons?" Quinn demanded. "I also have a letter from Homer explaining everything in detail. He wrote quite a bit about you. You are the reason your father-in-law decided to bequeath the property to me. He was convinced you would sell everything in a rush for large sums of money, and the new owners would demolish the old buildings, cut down the ancient trees, and build a modern mansion. Homer wanted the house, the buildings, and the grounds to remain as a memory of him and his one true love, Rosalie. Do you think we couldn't fulfill Homer's wishes? His own children could have carried out his requests. They would have done as their father asked," Quinn argued, still not ready to give up the fight. "Quinn, after your deception, using your pregnancy from a classmate to marry Aiden, there's no trust left. If your husband had inherited the house, you would have influenced him greatly and eventually gotten your way. Your father-in-law knew both you and his gullible, weak-willed son too well. I always knew you were a predator," Quinn hissed at Faith. "You just pretended to be a helpless lamb to gain sympathy and not be taken seriously. You're a scoundrel. I had a good teacher. So, what's your choice? Shall we reveal the truth and completely destroy your family, or will you accept my terms and leave me alone?" Faith said. "I'll accept your conditions, but I need guarantees. How do I know you won't tell someone about this sooner or later?" "There are no guarantees. It all depends on your behavior. If you deceive me, I'll be forced to reveal your secret. Additionally, I have one more condition. You must help reconcile me with Louis. In case you haven't realized, I've never cheated on him and I love him deeply. Your journal reveals not only that Louis is Henry Tell's son, but also that you never loved your husband Aiden. I don't think that will make him happy. Living with someone you don't love must be hard, but fortunately, I can't relate. You snake. You pretended to be so meek all this time and chose to reveal your true self at the right moment. Ha! I've never met a more deceitful woman than you. You couldn't achieve your own happiness, had to live with a man you didn't love, and now you won't let others live peacefully. Why did you need to separate me and Louis? Do you think you did him a favor? We love each other. But you wouldn't understand that because you've never known mutual love. Your Henry didn't want to marry you. That means he didn't love you. Shut up. Enough. Stop. Quinn's face was ashen. She clutched her heart, looking as if she was struggling to breathe. Quinn, are you okay? Should I call an ambulance? Faith asked. No, I just need to rest. I have medication in the bedroom. I'll take it, and I'll be fine. What about our conversation? Should we postpone it for a few days if you prefer? I need to think about what to do next. I can't just go out and tell everyone I've changed my mind. I'll discuss everything with the lawyer and call you. Right now, I have neither the physical nor the moral strength to continue this conversation. With these words, Quinn stood up from the table and, holding onto the wall, slowly made her way to her bedroom. Faith realized there was nothing more for her to do in the house at the moment and left to meet with the lawyer as they had planned. Quinn was in complete disarray. She had played one of her stellar roles today, that of a woman on the verge of a heart attack due to tragic events. In reality, she wasn't feeling unwell at all. Quinn's nervous system could withstand far more because she was extremely resilient to stress. She needed to buy time and used an appropriate trick. Her daughter-in-law turned out to be kind enough to pity her despite their conflict. Reflecting on her situation, Quinn decided to call the lawyer. Hello, Mark. It's Quinn. Have you started working on our inheritance dispute? I have a few questions, but this isn't a phone conversation. Can I come by today to discuss a confidential matter? Hello, Quinn. Does this matter relate to the inheritance we discussed today? In a way, yes. But I'm not a lawyer, so I can only guess there might be a slight connection. I'd appreciate it if you could clarify how closely related these topics are and how it might affect the outcome. Alright, if it's related to the inheritance case, come by at 5 p.m. Great, I'll be there. Thank you, see you then. With that, Quinn hung up the phone and started getting ready to visit the lawyer. Meanwhile, Faith was already meeting with her lawyer. She couldn't discuss certain matters in front of everyone, and now she needed to clarify them to understand the bigger picture. Bruce, please tell me what consequences the Erickson family's lawyer's actions might have. What can he do? How could this harm me? Do they have any chance of invalidating the will? If you haven't committed any illegal acts, the only remaining issue is the health of the testator, Homer. If he had been under the care of a psychiatrist with a certain diagnosis, there is a possibility of declaring the transaction void if it was made by a person deemed incompetent due to a mental disorder. If an expert examination finds that at the time of the transaction the testator suffered from a mental disorder that prevented him from understanding his actions and their legal consequences, the transaction can be invalidated. Was Homer registered at a psychiatric clinic or observed by a psychiatrist in any private clinic? I don't know. I wasn't informed of such details. But I never heard or saw anything like that. Homer had a complicated personality, but I don't think he had any mental disorder. In my opinion, he was actually the most sane person in the family despite his age. Faith, the thing is, even some age-related changes are considered mental disorders, such as senile dementia. Senile dementia is a progressive decline in mental and intellectual abilities due to the death of brain cells. So mental illnesses can be very different. Have you ever noticed any odd behavior from Homer? No. As I mentioned, I didn't see any signs of mental illness, though I'm not a specialist in this area, so I can't be certain. My mother-in-law behaved far less reasonably than Grandpa Homer at times, and he was involved in various architectural and construction projects until his last days. He was invited to expert councils. I don't think he could have worked productively if his mind wasn't sharp. Yes, you're right. Homer's work capacity, participation in social life, professional, and expert activities further confirmed that his mind was functioning well at the time of the transaction, despite his age. Thank you, Bruce, you've reassured me a bit. Faith, I promise I'll do everything I can to ensure the court rules in your favor. Quinn, meanwhile, didn't waste any time either. At the appointed time, she appeared at their family lawyer's office. Now, in this polished woman in expensive branded clothes, you couldn't recognize the disheveled sick woman Faith had left at the Erickson house earlier that day. Mark, what an exquisite office you have. It's clear the owner has good taste. It's been a while since I've been here. A lot has changed, Quinn said, keeping the conversation light. Quinn, thank you, but let's get to the point. What confidential matter did you want to discuss with me? Mark replied, steering back to business. Mark, I'm not sure how to say this. It's not something you just blurt out even to close ones, let alone a stranger, but there's such a thing as attorney-client privilege. Can I count on what I say here staying within these walls? Quinn asked cautiously. Yes, Quinn, you can trust that what you tell me today will not leave this office unless you instruct otherwise, Mark assured her. The thing is, I had a relationship before marriage with a man, and I didn't know I was pregnant when we broke up. Later, I met my husband, we got married, but there's a possibility that my eldest child isn't my husband's. Now there are some complications related to this detail, so I need to know, if it turns out that Louis isn't Aiden's son, could this affect his inheritance rights? Quinn explained, her voice tinged with concern. Quinn, I'm not entirely sure I follow. Which inheritance rights are you referring to exactly? If you're talking about the inheritance left after Homer's death, Louis isn't in the first line of heirs anyway. And in the will, the testator is free to designate anyone as a beneficiary, even someone completely unrelated. As for your husband, unless there are changes in the documents, Louis is legally considered your husband's son, though paternity can be challenged only through legal proceedings, Mark clarified. How can that be? Can someone really disinherit their relatives and give away all their property to strangers? Quinn questioned incredulously. Quinn, perhaps what I'm about to tell you will be surprising, but according to current law, a testator has the right to dispose of their property to anyone as they see fit, to determine the shares of heirs in the inheritance, or to disinherit one, several, or all heirs without stating reasons for such disinheritance, Mark explained. And what does this mean for my son Louis? Quinn pressed further. Well, as I mentioned earlier, your son isn't among the first-line heirs by law upon the opening of Homer's estate after his death. The first-line heirs include children, spouse, and parents of the deceased. Therefore, your husband and his brother Leonard will inherit the remaining estate equally, excluding your country house, unless there is another will. And what will my children get then? Will they get nothing at all? Quinn asked, concern deepening. Your children will inherit either through a will, if specified as beneficiaries, or by representation rights. However, representation rights don't apply in your case, Mark replied. Why don't they apply? Quinn inquired. Because representation rights arise when a first-line heir dies simultaneously with the deceased or before the estate is opened. Since neither of those situations occurred, that legal provision doesn't apply, Mark explained. So, there are no other options for my children to inherit? Quinn concluded, sounding disappointed. There's still inheritance transmission. If an heir designated in a will dies after the estate is opened but before accepting their inheritance within the specified period, the right to accept the inheritance passes to their heirs, Mark offered. And that's it? So, this is a dead end? Quinn sighed, realizing the complexities of her situation. If your father-in-law didn't leave anything to your children in his will, they won't be able to claim any inheritance opened after his death. They weren't dependent on him due to incapacity, so they also don't have a claim to a compulsory share. What kind of lawyer are you, if you can't do anything? I'm an honest lawyer working within the boundaries of the law, not a magician. If you expect the impossible, you should seek legal assistance from another specialist. You entrusted me to challenge the will, and I will do that. If you've changed your mind, then pay for the actual costs I've incurred. Today, I visited several places to address your issue. I had transportation expenses, plus the time spent, which you also need to compensate at the agreed rate per our contract. You're so mercenary, Mark. My life is falling apart here, and all you think about is how to make more money, you scoundrel. Please refrain from insults, Quinn. I'm not your servant or maid. Every effort deserves payment. I diligently carried out your task and invested my own efforts into it. Do you think money rains down on me from the sky, so I can work for free now? I understand, Mark. Don't worry, you'll get your payment. But it will be final and conclusive. From now on, we no longer need your services. And if what I just heard leaks out later, I'll use all my connections to strip you of your lawyer status. With that said, Quinn stormed out of the office. She needed to think everything through. Never before in her life had Quinn faced such a complex situation for which she couldn't devise a solution herself. She decided she needed to carefully weigh all the pros and cons before taking the next step. What do I do now? Quinn pondered as she arrived home. Even if I agree to that nasty girl's terms, how do I reconcile them with Lewis? How will I explain to everyone why I've suddenly changed my mind without raising any suspicions? I need more time. Hello, Faith, Quinn said into the phone. We need to talk. I agree to your terms, but understand, completely changing course openly and visibly in the opposite direction is impossible without arousing questions and suspicions. You don't want our joint plan to fail, so we need to act wisely and cautiously. That will require time. Are you on board with me? Quinn, you used to handle intrigues perfectly when it only benefited you. But as soon as you were asked to play a game that benefits someone else, not just yourself, suddenly you encountered difficulties. Isn't that suspicious? Faith, it's clear you're a novice in this matter. Before, I played by rules I knew and set myself, but now I have additional conditions imposed by someone else. I'll have to consider them and come up with something new. So, if you don't want us both to lose, please trust me and don't demand a quick decision. I've already spoken to Mark and fulfilled the first conditions of our agreement. He won't contest the will, and he won't file a police report either. But our agreement is bilateral. The next move is yours. Otherwise, it will seem that the agreement we made only benefits you, and I might lose interest altogether. Alright, I'll give you time, but not longer than the period left for the inheritance process. All our disagreements must be resolved by then. Do what you need to do, but convince your relatives of my honesty. Restore my good name just as it was once tarnished. Otherwise, we'll both sink together. I'm sinking alone, I won't do. If you call me your teacher, then I can say I've found a worthy replacement. I have to admit, you've turned into a good adversary. Great, now that we both realize that it's more advantageous to be friends than enemies, let's finalize our agreement. If either of us breaks our part of the deal, the other has the right to act as they see fit. With that, Quinn hung up the phone. She had bought herself a few months. During this time, anything could happen, including circumstances beyond her control arising, and Faith wouldn't be able to question her about them. Time was the most precious resource now in her possession, a small victory nonetheless. Her future daughter-in-law had been forced to compromise. Faith agreed with her mother-in-law on one thing only: a bad peace is better than a good war. But now she needed to consider backup plans, because fully trusting Quinn would be the last thing she'd do in her life. It would be foolish to tell anyone in the Erickson family right now without preparation, as she didn't know what their reaction would be, and the situation could spiral out of control. She could lose both her husband and the allies she had recently gained in her mother-in-law. All she could do now was wait to see what her mother-in-law would do. If she didn't interfere with Faith's inheritance, that would be good enough. Then at least one problem in her life would be lessened. But just to be safe, she needed to find out all the weak points of her position from a lawyer. Maybe there were some loopholes she didn't know about, and Quinn would definitely use them. Hello, Bruce. I'm sorry to bother you, but I have some questions. I spoke with my mother-in-law, and she promised not to interfere with my inheritance process. It seems her lawyer has already learned that the will is genuine, and there's no grounds for contesting it. But Quinn asked me to give her time to sort things out with the family on her own. I said I would wait until the inheritance process is finalized. Now I have certain doubts about the honesty of my mother-in-law and the goodness of her intentions. Bruce, please tell me, after I inherit the Erickson estate, can other heirs still take any action? Or once I officially inherit, will they be unable to do anything further? Faith, any deal can be contested within 3 years. That's the general statute of limitations. The heirs have up to 3 years from the date they knew or should have known about the execution of the will to file a lawsuit to declare it invalid due to its nullity. Importantly, the statute of limitations cannot exceed 10 years from the actual date of the will's execution. In theory, this could stretch the contesting period to 10 years. If the opposing party fails to provide credible evidence that the plaintiff knew about the will's execution sooner, the 3-year limitation period applies. So, I'm not protected from someone challenging the will even after I inherit? No, there are no guarantees here. Everyone has the right to defend their interests and violated rights through any legal means. I see, thank you, Faith replied. The lawyer's response convinced her that her mother-in-law was merely stalling and trying to lull her vigilance. Clearly, Faith needed a backup plan, and the sooner, the better. With these thoughts in mind, she called another person and arranged to meet them at a dimly lit cafe. As Faith glanced around, she recognized the familiar silhouette approaching her table. She had chosen this place for its quiet and calm atmosphere with few patrons. The subdued lighting allowed her to stay in the shadows, visible but not too conspicuous, setting the right tone for a peaceful discussion. The person sat opposite Faith and asked, "So, why did you call me? What have you come up with this time? I'm short on time, so tell me what happened, and then I'm off." "It didn't happen to me. It happened to you, and I can't keep it from you, even though I was asked to. But I have no choice. Your mom didn't leave me any options. But before I tell you everything, promise me you won't tell anyone. Otherwise, you'll ruin not just your life, but everyone else's too. What could you possibly tell me that I don't already know? And how could this information affect our entire family? Did Grandpa write another will in your favor and leave us with nothing? I wouldn't even be surprised. We're prepared for anything. Nicole has already packed her things, waiting for you to tell us to leave your house. This has nothing to do with Homer and his inheritance, at least not directly. Then I don't understand why I'm here. I have zero interest in anything related to you, directly or indirectly. Sorry, but you've wasted your time and mine. In the future, don't bother me for no good reason. Contact our family lawyer if you have information to share. Listen, it's difficult for me to tell you this, but I can't hide such crucial information from you. What you do with it afterward is up to you. Just promise not to tell your parents, or it will lead to a major scandal that could irreversibly tear our family apart. Understand, I don't want that. In fact, quite the opposite. I'm trying to regain your trust, which wasn't lost by me, but I'm taking this step to earn it back. You betrayed me. What trust are you talking about now? Betrayal is treachery. You stabbed me in the back. If you bring this up again, I won't listen, said Louis, starting to rise from the table, but Faith grabbed his arm and stopped him. Please understand, finally, that your mother has been trying to divide us all this time. She found this diary with my work notes and presented her desires as reality, not mine, but hers. These are just drafts for a future book. There's no other evidence, and there can't be. You can ask any of my colleagues about it. But I have proof that Quinn has been lying to us all this time, not just to you but to your entire family and everyone around us. You can verify if I'm right or not. What are you talking about? What proof? Here's your mother's diary from her youth, and this is a letter from Grandpa addressed to me, detailing how he found this diary. Read it all, and you'll understand. Faith handed Louis the worn-out blue-bound diary, opened to the relevant page, and the letter. Louis scanned through the lines with familiar handwriting. Faith watched as his eyes widened with each read sentence. He finished reading but hesitated to look at his wife. Now you see who's been constantly scheming and deceiving everyone. Believe me, I love you dearly and would give you everything I inherited if Homer hadn't asked me personally to accept and preserve his home. It's his final wish, and we must respect and honor it. You said what you wrote in the diary were drafts for a future book. But how can I be sure that this situation isn't just the same? Firstly, I've already talked to your mother about this, and she admitted it's true. Apparently, she couldn't come up with any excuse because I caught her off guard. Secondly, you can always do a DNA test. Check if you're Aiden's son. Yes, you're right. I didn't even think of that. I'm sorry I hurt you, but if someone else had told you later and found out I knew but didn't say anything, I would risk losing you forever. Let me at least remain your friend if you don't want to see me as your wife. I don't want us to part as enemies. Honestly, my mind is in a whirl right now. It's all so confusing. It's too much of a psychological burden. I can't figure out who's my enemy and who's my friend right now. Everything is blurred. Thank you for telling me. I appreciate it, but don't ask me for an immediate answer. Please give me time. I need to think everything through. With that, Louis slowly got up from the table and headed for the exit. Time. Faith was asked for time again. There's always so much of it when you don't think about it and so little when you need it. In any case, she would have to wait because she had used up her last chance to play her own game. Now everything depended on Louis' decision. Louis struggled to fall asleep, replaying everything he had learned today in his mind. How would he now look his father in the eye, knowing he wasn't truly his son? Who was his real father? Did he know he had a son? Why did his mother treat them all this way? There were so many questions, and only one person could help find the answers: Quinn. Having tossed and turned all night without sleep, Louis could barely wait for his mother to wake up. She was sitting alone in Homer's former study, sorting through some papers. Louis decided it was the right moment to talk and entered, closing the door behind him. Their conversation shouldn't reach anyone else's ears. He had promised Faith not to tell anyone, but his life had turned out to be a continuous deception and farce. He needed to sort everything out, to continue living calmly. With this information, he couldn't go on without answers to his questions. He had to fill in the missing pieces at all costs. Mom, we need to talk seriously. Yes, son, I'm listening. Where does your classmate Henry Tells live now? Why do you suddenly need to know about my classmate? And how do you even know about him? I don't remember telling you anything about him, his mother replied, sounding wary. Let's be upfront. I know he's my real father, and I want to meet him. So that schemer couldn't keep her word and told you everything she said to you? She didn't tell me anything, I read it myself. I visited her yesterday to talk and saw a diary lying on the bedside table. I thought it was hers, took a look while she was away, and it turned out to be yours. There was a letter inside from Grandpa, or rather Homer. He's not my grandpa, is he? Well, if you already know everything, what's the point of me denying it now? Yes, I got pregnant by my classmate Henry, whom I loved dearly. We were dating and planning to get married, but then a tragedy struck. He had an accident and died. I couldn't bring myself to have an abortion. Then Aiden started showing interest in me, and everything happened so quickly. But I never told him I was pregnant. It was a short term, so when I gave birth, everyone thought it was premature. I didn't want to convince anyone otherwise. Now you know everything, and you can spread it all over the world, including telling Aiden and breaking his heart. Do you have a photo of my real father? No, only a graduation photo in the album. I destroyed the other photos to avoid unnecessary questions. Are there any relatives on my father's side? Honestly, I don't even know. After Henry's death, I didn't keep in touch with any of his relatives. Why do you need this now? What will it give you, meeting people who didn't know of your existence all these years? Your father is Aiden. That's what he believes. That's what you believed, and everyone else thinks so too. It doesn't matter who your biological father is. What matters is who loved you, raised you, invested all their time, attention, and effort into you. It was Aiden who cared for you from infancy and supported you in all your endeavors. And now you'll repay him by telling him you're not his son. Will that make things easier? Will some universal justice be restored? Will the broken balance be fixed? But he has a right to know the truth. Son, you're already an adult and should have understood long ago that truth doesn't always bring good. Sometimes it's better to lie if the lie brings more benefit. I'm not asking you to do this for me. I'm at the end of my life. Think about your father, Nicole, and other relatives. How many people will be hurt by this news? How will they look at you afterwards? Will you just say, sorry, but we're not blood relatives after all? And even if you're a stepbrother to Nicole, to everyone else on Aiden's side, you'll become a complete stranger. Do you want to completely destroy our family? Maybe you're right. I'm always right. It's just not always obvious. That's why your Faith left the diary in a prominent place, knowing you'd come to visit her. Think about it, son. As for me, I'll go to my room. I don't feel well after this conversation. Reaching her bedroom, Quinn firmly closed the door and dialed Faith's number. You're even more cunning than I thought. Leaving my diary out in the open for Louis to read was a brilliant move. But he told me everything. So our agreement is null and void from now on. You're on your own, and don't expect any help from me. Take this miserable house and drown in it. I don't need it. Every inch of it will remind me of my wonderful father-in-law who never really cared for me. The old man was right about one thing. I would have sold off his precious property along with all these buildings, because I have no sentimental attachment to this junk. Tasteless, too. Such architectural choices went out of style long ago. But, Quinn, Faith began, but her mother-in-law had already hung up, and Faith heard only dial tones. She then dialed another number. How could you tell your mother everything on the very first day? I asked you not to do that. You gave me your word, remember? Faith, please calm down. I didn't tell Mom it was you who told me. I made up a story that I came to talk to you, saw the diary on the bedside table, thought it was yours, took a look, and then realized it was Mom's. I never intended to break your promise. But I couldn't stay silent either. Think about it. I needed to find out what's going on with my biological father now. Where else could I look for that information? So you didn't tell her it was me who invited you and showed you the diary? No, of course not. I said I called you myself because I wanted to talk to you. I came over, you were gone, and I took the opportunity to leaf through the diary. I'm sorry. I thought you betrayed me to your mother. It's all nonsense. I shouldn't have told you anything in the first place. I regret my actions. You did the right thing. I'm very grateful to you for that. Anyway, living in ignorance is worse for me than a bitter truth. If anyone should apologize, it's me. I realize now I didn't even try to understand the situation with your diary. I just believed words taken out of context, didn't give you a chance to explain everything, and as a result, Homer died, unable to bear such injustice from me. I'm to blame for that too, and for not letting you attend his funeral, and then everyone turning against you with that will. It's all my fault. I'm sorry, if you can forgive me. I feel so guilty in front of you. Is there any chance we can mend our relationship? Can I at least aspire to be your friend? Louis, I never expected to hear something like this from you. Of course, you can count on my friendship, and more. Can I come over now? I can't talk heart to heart with anyone else but you. I've missed our evenings so much, when we used to snuggle under one blanket and watch movies together. So many warm memories. Now that we've almost lost all of that, I can't seem to remember anything bad. God, what a fool I've been. Of course, come over. I'm always glad to see you. Louis and Faith sat on the couch, embracing each other tightly. Tears streamed down Faith's cheeks, tears of joy and relief. Finally, the dark period in her life had ended, and she was back in the arms of her beloved. "Sweetheart, why are you crying? We're together again now. Everything will be fine. We have a long, happy future ahead of us. Let's forget all the problems and mistakes from the past. Let's start fresh. Let's reboot our relationship completely," Louis said tenderly. "I just can't believe how happy I am. We've been apart for so long that I had almost given up hope of ever repairing things between us. If only you knew how hurt I was when you didn't believe me, even if the whole world was against me and you were the only one who supported me, that would have been enough for me to hold my head high. But your accusations felt like a verdict to me. Please promise me that you'll never do that to me again," Faith replied emotionally. "My dear, I don't know what punishment to impose on myself for hurting you like that. Don't cry, my love. I'm not worth a single tear of yours. Forgive me for the pain I caused you with my distrust and false accusations. I promise you, I will trust you and never believe any slander," Louis assured her sincerely. After these words, Faith held on to him tighter. The familiar scent of wood notes, mixed with perfume and a hint of tobacco, filled her senses. She hadn't heard it in so long. Now her heart beat faster as if they hadn't been married for years, but had just met recently. When you love someone deeply, you find everything about them appealing, even their bad habits. Her husband hadn't quit smoking, despite promising multiple times. But right now, the hint of tobacco in the air completed the olfactory portrait, creating a unique and deeply familiar scent of her husband. Faith was ready to dissolve completely in it. "Louis, I have one more piece of news for you. I wanted to tell you when I last came back from a work trip, but your mother got in the way then. And in the end, I couldn't bring myself to tell you, and afterwards, I didn't see the point in telling anyone else. I was so angry with you. I wanted this to be my secret. I dreamt of punishing you with this, keeping it all to myself. I thought I'd leave for a couple of years, then come back, and you wouldn't suspect a thing. And then your mother said nasty things to me about you and your new girlfriend. She said you were going to marry her friend's daughter and that you two had a passionate affair with all the spicy details. I wanted so badly back then to strangle you, your mother, and your new girlfriend. Louis, what kind of affair could we possibly have? It was mother trying to set us up, but I immediately said nothing would come of it because I'm married and happy. Forget about this nonsense, sweetheart, don't scare me. Lately, the news hasn't been pleasant, and I'm already afraid to hear what else you might have been hiding from me. Faith, has something bad happened? Are you sick or has something happened to one of your relatives? Tell me everything honestly, don't hide anything else from me. Everything's fine with my relatives, and I'm not sick. Well, technically, it's related to my physiological processes, but there's nothing unnatural or pathological about it. The thing is, I actually went to the doctor last time I left for the casting. I felt really bad there, nausea, dizziness, some weakness. I had to see a doctor. He made me take some tests, and in the end, the results showed something. Faith, don't hold back, please. Waiting for bad news is worse than death, pleaded Louis. I don't want to die from the prolonged anticipation of this news. What happened to you? If you need a full medical examination, let's go to the best clinic. They'll examine you again. I'm sure it's not as bad as it seems. Darling, I won't leave you, no matter how scary the diagnosis may be. Louis, please calm down. There's no scary diagnosis, I'm not sick at all. The tests showed that everything's fine, there are no deviations. There was only one indicator that was slightly off. I decided to check what it might mean, and it turns out it often happens with a certain hormonal surge. I then went to see a specialist to confirm my suspicions. Is there something wrong with your hormones? Will you need any treatment? What did the doctor say? Do you need medication? Hormone therapy, her husband bombarded her with questions. The doctor agreed with my guess. I had an ultrasound and some additional tests done, and in the end, that doctor confirmed the initial conclusions. Oh my God, just tell me finally what the doctor said. I can't take this torture anymore. Are you driving me crazy because I hurt you so badly? We agreed to leave everything in the past, please don't toy with me and tell me what they said at the hospital. Or did I offend you so badly that you now wish me dead? If that's the case, I'll go find a grave now, lie down in it, and wait for death, Lewis exclaimed. Come on, don't talk about dying, his wife smiled. If anything, this should give you an extra reason to keep going. If you love me even a little, have mercy on me and tell me everything as it is. The doctor said there's nothing to worry about because this hormonal surge simply means that I'm pregnant. Pregnant? Gasped the frightened husband. Yes, it's that simple. I'm already 4 months along, so congratulations, you'll soon be a father. This news completely stunned Lewis, and he seemed to freeze for a moment, staring at Faith without blinking. But soon, the horror in his eyes turned into confusion, and then tears of happiness, which he didn't try to hold back as he hugged his beloved wife tightly. It seemed like time had stopped, and in the whole universe, there were only him and her. The news of Faith's pregnancy melted even the once stony heart of Lewis's mother. Subsequently, she had another heart-to-heart talk with Faith, and they agreed to a kind of truce on mutually beneficial terms. After all, now her future grandchild was growing in the belly of her daughter-in-law, which meant the continuation of the noble Eriksson lineage. According to the agreement, the Eriksson family continued to use the house and the property within it as before. In this regard, nothing changed for them, but in matters of disposition, Faith always had the final say as the owner of the inherited property. Aidan was also immensely happy to know he would have a grandson. As for Nicole, she decided to independently design and prepare the baby's nursery as a gesture of reconciliation with Faith. The next 6 months passed for the Eriksson family in pleasant anticipation before the arrival of the new family member. This child became a symbol of hope for positive changes and the strengthening of strained family ties. He became the connecting link they had all been missing for so long.